Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily News Show, powered by ohmTown.com. I am Mayor Watt. I'm looking around at things because I'm trying to make sure that I'm streaming properly. Apparently what has happened in the past is that it was streaming to, Twitch is a black stream. Like, it was just a black screen. I don't know what it is right now because it's not actually showing. So I think I'm going to have to go over to Twitch real quick and see. So 1 second. Yeah, I mean, it's correct. It's working. Anyway,
well, that's good.
Yeah. So hopefully I don't get any notices later. So let's get into this. Today is June 10th, 2024. It's season 3, episode 162. I am Mayor Watt, and next to me, right there,
right here,
is the Sentient AI's visualizer. I'm actually working on another one, again, a new one, a different one, that better exemplifies the computational energy needed to move that little
right here.
Yeah, neuron around that one right there. Yeah,
right there.
I'm squishing your
right
neurons. I'll
there.
get them. Today, though, we're going to be talking about climate change is a myth. So don't worry about it. Biggest announcements from WWDC: Wirecut forensics, a Swift law school class, 10 demos you need to play. It's newly pre-owned and repaired. This is a funny story. The seas are a hot mess. Synnovis Ransomware. Elephants have names for each other, like calling the biggest elephant tiny. And Thief Copter 11 reporting live. Welcome back. Again, I am Mayor Watt, and right there. Oh, I almost got it.
Right here.
Oh, you moved it. Doggone it. Okay, well, that's... Can't play that reindeer game all day long.
I think we should do that through the whole show.
Throughout the whole show. I'm gonna...
Whoa.
Oh, doggone it. I was just too... slow. Pokey. All right. See, the stream preview on Twitch is invisible. It just says live, but I just loaded it up in like the direct stream, and I see myself. Anyway,
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Mayor Watt, move on. Mayor Watt, move on. What?
Right here.
Huh? What?
Focus.
Oh, I'm streaming? Am I streaming? Hey, what does climate change in a Texas city have in common?
I don't know.
Me neither. So...
That was the punchline?
No, there was no punchline. The punchline is this article. ohmTown Daily is where it was aggregated to, but it's coming from Newsweek. A Texas city issues a swimming pool advisory as it risks running out of water. The contingency plan was initiated after Amistad Reservoir and Falcon Lake, 2 bodies of water on the Rio Grande, reached concerningly low levels.
You know, it gets dire when they're issuing swimming pool advisories.
But we know that little Joey pees in the pool. So I'm not drinking from the neighbor's pool. Anyway, so climate change is
probably wise not to do that.
Anthropomorphic climate change is just a myth. Yeah.
You know, I mean, we don't see any impacts at all anywhere.
Republicans demand water from Mexico is the title of the video that's on the Newsweek.com site. Yeah, I'm going to try and actually promote this but I guarantee you that it's going to get dinged. So Anna Skinner over at Newsweek, and it's news. It's actually news, but I won't be allowed to promote this episode. Residents soon will be able to fill their swimming pools during specific hours on one day, because you know how water works, right?
If you only do it on one day, is it the same amount?
No, it's a different thing. There's more water on certain days. Yeah, city officials in Laredo announced the restriction late last month. Eastern Texas has recently been struck by a wave of severe weather, including a deluge of rain that prompted a surge of flood warnings. And it's had snow and it's had hail. It had wildfires, like burned down half the state. Now it's boiling all of its water away.
I think it had tornadoes too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there's been hurricanes that have rolled through it in the last couple of years. You know, climate change, it's really a myth.
It's not a thing.
It's all in your head. In Houston, the city received up to 6 inches of rain in the first week of May, more than an inch above the average rainfall for the month. However, other parts of the state are still battling drought, including Laredo. I just hear a country song. That's all I hear. Wait. Hold on. Let's do this. If we're going to do it, we might as well do it right.
That's right.
All right.
There we go. Now we're on theme.
If we play it backward, the water levels return to normal. The plains just become plain. My dog pops back to life. My wife returns. My spouse returns. My truck starts on the first time. I'm going to leave that playing because I guess country music is not going to be the theme for this episode. In late May, Laredo city officials announced that the Water Conservation Drought Contingency Plan Stage 3 would activate on July 12th. And thus was born this little printout paid by taxpayers that says, "We demand our water."
Well, it's also interesting too, right? When they announce a future date where this is going to happen.
Yeah,
what do we think happens before then?
Take some frickin' steps to solve it. Anyway, other Stage 3 restrictions include prohibiting irrigation, utilizing hose and sprinklers. So, Joey, instead of peeing in the pool, pee in the yard. Or automatic sprinkler systems, but I suppose a human is still an automatic sprinkler system if they're out in the front on the deck, right? Just going...
Oh, no.
No?
Just now.
Oh. Anyway. Yeah, you're not allowed to water your lawn, garden, landscape areas, trees, shrubs, other plants outside of designated hours. Again, you know how water works, right? It's more abundant during certain hours, so everybody run out and use it.
Well, it's known to evaporate more if you put it out there like in blazing hot sun.
Sure.
And so then you end up using more water potentially or wasting more.
Sure. There's certain things that make logical sense, but anyway, printing a sign that says, "We demand our water," is not one of them. Let's move on.
That's probably true.
We just have to move on. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily as well. Apple WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference for 2024, has started today. Here's 13 of its biggest announcements. By the way, they have a keynote for one of the days that they broadcast, and then the rest is all like behind the scenes, and some stuff is presented on the Apple interface and the blah blah blah. Anyway, Apple Worldwide Developers Conference has come to a close. I thought it was this week. Started this weekend.
Let's see.
Does it say close? I thought it started. The keynote was today. Oh, the keynote. I'm sorry. It says it right there. I'm a dumbass.
Okay.
So the keynote has come to a close, and the company had a whole lot to share. Yep, there were some really interesting things. I watched some of it, but mayoral duties kept me from watching it exclusively. And so Emma Roth put an article together over at TheVerge.com that has 13 of them. I don't know if we'll look. There's way more than 13 that was discussed. Like
Right,
end
but
to
that was
end.
the biggest announcements.
This says the 13 biggest announcements, and if they don't have one in here that mentions end-to-end encrypted satellite iMessaging and SMS.
Wait, what?
Yes. It blew me away. It was just, I just happened to listen to the keynote during that stage. End-to-end, you know how they have it on the watch that you can sit there and do emergency messaging?
Oh, yes, yeah.
You can now do that on the iPhone 14 on.
Wow.
Yeah, blew me away. So it says, and they're referring to AI as Apple Intelligence, not artificial intelligence.
You know,
Yes.
they're so good about branding. Right now, people are going to start calling AI elsewhere Apple Intelligence.
Yeah. And I'm conflicted because I really hate it when people, what do they call that? It's not absconding. It's where they take over a misappropriation. So I think it's appropriation. I'm going to come up with another one. So something with the I, appropriation, something or other. Right. I'm kind of bent out of shape about it because I don't like the idea of it being Apple intelligence. So anyway, it is going to be AI, but it's referred to as Apple Intelligence because they don't refer to VR as virtual reality. They call it Apple Vision or whatever.
They sound like they're following the reality hacker theme, right? Like, let's just call it whatever we want it to be.
Yep. Substitute your own reality for reality, and there you have it. So they call AI Apple Intelligence, but it's really OpenAI, I think, on the back end. And it says that puts powerful generative models right at the core of your iPhone, iPad, and Mac. That enables a ton of new capabilities across Apple native apps, such as the ability to generate images or summarize text. And some of these things are going to be creepy. Why? Because you can now copy and paste something, and it will automatically detect your handwriting style and write it in your handwriting style.
Whoa.
Yeah, so let's see what they say. Siri gets a big boost, so maybe it's not going to be this dumb ball of electronics sitting everywhere in the mayoral mansion. Apple is building a ChatGPT into Siri. New AI features in mail, messages, and photos, so it'll conglomerate things better now. You can tell it to go and find pictures that have... they use an example of stickers on people's faces. So like there are pictures where the kids and put little flower stickers on their face, and you can tell the AI, go find these pictures in my photo reel, and it'll gather them all up. So it's analyzing all of your data. iPhone gets more customizable in iOS 18. I think more of this customization stuff muddies the water of functionality to the point where I think it becomes potentially a security issue, because one of the features is remote access sharing. You, as a user of an iPad, can allow me to manipulate your screen remotely. And if that means, if you can open a back door to remote access, that means a back door to remote access can be forced open. I'm not
right. Like that sounds good, but really bad too, right?
Yeah.
Because if nobody abuses it, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But if somebody hacks in.
Yeah, exactly. And we won't know about it until it happens, until a 0 day is discovered. And that's typically about 18 months after the initial discovery of the 0 day. That's when somebody finds out, somebody else other than the 0 day creator or discoverer. because people talk and they got to put a feather in their cap or make money or, get kudos or whatever. They have to make their bones. So if a person with a 0-day never talks about it, then it's not a security issue because it's never used. But eventually it gets used, told, shared, whatever, and then it becomes a 0-day exploit. So after announcing support for RCS, which is the satellite communication stuff, Apple confirmed that it's arriving in iOS 18. It didn't expand on any other details beyond that, other than it saying end-to-end encryption for iMessage and SMS satellite messaging as well are going to be capable. Apple TV Plus puts insights to tell you which actor is on screen. So this is something that I've actually talked about here in the mayoral mansion. Essentially, I find it really cool that you can go. What I really want is throughout a movie, I want to be able to pause it and select things. Like I want to find out who it is that made that dress, and I want to go.
Oh, I see.
Tell me the history of it, right? I want to know who it was that made it. I want to know maybe if it was a custom piece that's only available for this movie and nowhere else, maybe the designer of it, all kinds. Just inundate me with information, because then I can filter through it, right? Information overload is one thing, but actionable, maybe that's the thing. Information overload is a pithy statement that you can make, but it's really data overload. Converting data into information is when it becomes actionable. Data is just a lump of unwashed information. So what I want is to be able to go, oh, that's interesting. Pause it, click it, or do whatever. Have a second screen that feeds the information to it. I think that would be great.
That would be really useful.
Of course, I also say that about
how many times
politics.
When you're watching something do you want that information?
Yeah, exactly. I want to, for instance, like in politics, I want to be able to select a politician and I get everything, their entire dossier as to their actions that they've taken, things that they've said, and you don't have to make it polarizing. You just have to be factual. And like NASCAR has it, you click on the screen and it pops up the information and you can see who the driver is, what their record is, their history,
who their sponsors are,
just like a politician should have. Password app to keep track of your logins, which already exists. There is a password module already in Apple, but it's not an app. It's part of the infrastructure, and within the settings app, there is a list of all of your passwords if you allow your system to record them. iPad 18 adds a calculator app. They actually cheered this on, by the way.
This is worth cheering because the current iPad has not ever had a good calculator app.
See, yeah, and I know what you're saying, but what's really interesting about this is they're so self-aware of it that it wasn't the cheer of the people going yay. They put an audio bit in there going yay, because they're so self-aware. Months and months and months ago, probably years ago at this point, it's been so long, somebody said something snarky about the iPad. It has everything that a person could want, and I said except vibration alerts, and it still doesn't have vibration alerts. So why does your iPad, 21st century, everything else, my watch has vibration alerts, my iPhone has vibration alerts, every other device has vibration alerts, but the iPad does not.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. What's neat about this math app, though, is you can write it. You can write the formula, fill in the data later, and it updates everything after the equal sign.
Oh, wow.
And it does it on the fly. Let's say you have 10 to the 2 divided by 50. It's divided by 50, and it'll punch out a number. And then you go back and you draw a line under it and divide it by pi, and it'll punch out the number again.
Wow. I mean, that's really useful.
Yep. And the writing,
quite advanced.
the Apple Pencil mechanics now smooth out your writing, so if you're herky-jerky, it will still make it legible. Mac OS 15 will let you mirror your phone, which I think is pretty spectacular. I really like the idea of being able to mirror or use the other device as a second screen. So I hope that continues. Right now, I don't know. Like, I'm using Windows devices. I have Linux devices. I have Android devices. Apple's ecosystem seems frictionless for facilitating this type of thing. Interoperability between its devices. You'll be able to interact with your iPhone directly from your Mac, letting you view notifications, hear audio playing from your mobile device, etc., via your Mac device. And it's kind of like a backdoor because you'll be able to share information, but we've always been able to do that, copy and paste across devices seamlessly. I can control certain devices remotely. The other thing, though, where I attach to somebody else's device, that pushes the limit a little too far for me and my security.
Yeah, that is a bit much.
Yeah, my security sensibilities. Apple will automatically surface widgets in Watch OS 11, so it'll just pop it up and let you know. Vision OS 2 adds spatial photos and an ultra-wide Mac display, which... yeah, the 16 people that I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people that are still using Apple Vision. And then it says the next AirPods Pro update will let you quietly respond to Siri. So this one is really interesting. You can get an alert or a call or something that requires you to respond, and you can respond by shaking your head, or disable a call, or anything else that requires like a yes, and it'll pick it up and you can talk quietly, or you can shake your head and it'll disable it. So it's pretty neat. Yeah. There was a lot more, but I'm not going to get into it here. What I'm going to end up doing is, I couldn't do it the last time. Maybe I'll be able to do it this time, but I went through the whole keynote and talked over it, and then I got dinged for rebroadcasting it. So maybe this time I won't, but I don't know. Fun article. And since you have been here for 22 minutes, let me remind you, if you type in !ODNS into the chat, it will grab all of the links. Hey, it did it right this time. No, it didn't. The last one, it burked. It dorked it up. Anyway, the links are in the VOD now, and if you hit !pod, it'll list all of the podcasts. There are 7 of them, and if you hit !show notes, it will give you all of the commands that are necessary for you to pull up the links for each of these shows. It's always the latest show, though, so the past ones you'll have to go back into the show notes over on YouTube, or download the podcast. There are over now 1,100 episodes of ohmTown videos. 2.5 years of ohmTown Daily News Show, and 6 months of 7 other shows. So, and more are on the way, folks. I've got 3 more shows that are on deck, but I'm not going to announce them all. Mix War is still in production. But there are issues. Like, I've done a show, posted it, and got DMCA, copyright notices, because the audio bit that I had was similar to somebody else's, and because copyright is a battle axe instead of a scalpel, I have to worry about it, and it turns into a legal discussion with attorneys or letters. And communication that takes months. So, yeah, not worth it. So, but it is worth it.
Yeah, that's a shame, though.
Yeah. And we'll get into that. There's actually stuff that we'll talk about here. So, let's go on to the next article. Blink. That was weird. That took a long time to switch. Anyway, the next article is over on the mobile channel. Oh, did you want to talk about that? I'm sorry. I didn't even...
No, it's okay. I mean, I think there are quite a few significant announcements. These aren't minimal updates.
Right.
I think any one of these would have been a pretty big advancement. The only one that concerns me is the one with the kind of the backdoor access.
Yeah. Phrasing. Okay, let's move on then. So the next article is over on the Marvel channel. Wire-cut forensic examinations currently too unreliable for court, according to a new study. Okay, I'm interested in forensics, mainly because I've done certain things in a former life where they are part and parcel to investigations. And so it's quite fascinating. And because I want to think like a criminal, I want to know about this kind of stuff. And so it facilitates thinking like a criminal. And how would I try and get away with something? I would do this or that or the other. Like people try to gouge out a barrel so that the forensics from a bullet can't be matched, except that they can by eliminating the aged striations. The rifling stands out. So there's the same thing with plastic bags. The extrusion of a plastic bag actually shows if a bag used in a crime matches the ones that are on the scene of a residence where a forensic capture has been done, right? So somebody gets a warrant, they go in, they take they turn it into a crime scene, they take a plastic bag where a plastic bag might have been used at a crime scene somewhere, and they match it up. They look at it under a microscope. You can do the same thing with wire cuts. So if somebody used wire cutters...
I didn't even know that was a thing in this article.
Yeah, and that's actually part and parcel to how people don't get away with a crime, because there's some type of forensic transfer. So a research article published June 10th in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences highlights the importance of careful application of high-tech forensic science to avoid wrongful convictions. Boom. If something like this existed for computer science, the Fujitsu Horizon issue wouldn't have been capable of being manifest. And if you don't know about that, 900 people were convicted of crimes that the system created, not humans, but the programmers did. They screwed it up, and they knew about it for a decade and never did anything about it except prosecute 900 people. It was surreal to find out about this. So in this, if somebody would have done this kind of research, they would have found out that there was something wrong with the system, but they actually looked at the high-tech system for confirmation that the crime was taking place and used the flawed system to incarcerate people or criminalize people. So this article is over at phys.org, University of Lincoln, Nebraska, Lincoln. All right.
The
University of Nebraska, Lincoln. There you go. Why is it Lincoln, Nebraska? Okay, whatever. I mean, I get why. It's because it's the university system of Nebraska, but it's the Lincoln University one. Anyway, in a study with implications for an array of forensic examinations that rely on vast databases and efficient algorithms, researchers found the odds of a false match significantly increase when examiners make millions of comparisons in a quest to match wires found at a crime scene with the tools allegedly used to cut them. And there really isn't much more to say about this. Although they do say in here, it is somewhat of a counterintuition, said co-author Susan Vanderplas, an assistant professor of statistics at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. You are more likely to find the right match, but you're also more likely to find the wrong match. Here's why. There's only so many different kinds of cuts and grooves that a wire can impart on wire cutters. It's not like fingerprints, where there is nearly infinite number of swirls and bends and
Right.
nanometer differences between one print and another. And that makes a fundamental identification. Whereas on the leading edge of a pair of clippers, that's where the damage is done. That's where the marks are imparted onto the wire under a microscope. It'll leave a gouge, or it'll leave a rise or something, or an angle is imparted onto the copper wire or whatever wire.
Right, but is it more based on the type or something rather than the specific set?
So what they are going to say in this, because I've actually looked at this previously, is, okay, I'm going to click on this picture. So right here along the edge of the clippers, there's little microscopic gouges and rises where previous cuts have been performed. And just like rifling on a bullet, it's going to leave a strike or a gouge or something on the leading edge of the clipped wire, or whatever it was that was clipped using these wire cutters. So there won't necessarily be metallic transfer or particle transfer. It's just these grooves, like striations on a bullet, right? That's what bullet rifling is. So does that make sense? So the problem here is that you could have a million different wire cutters. 2 of them have the same notches because there isn't enough fidelity in those. And I've been saying that for years. There's just no way, but I don't have the data to sit there and back up my claim. So it says wire cuts and tool marks are often frequently used as evidence in robberies, bombings, other crimes, right? In the case of wire cuts, tiny striations on the cut ends of the wire may be matched to one of many available tools in a toolbox or garage. Comparing the evidence to more tools increases the chances that similar striations may be found on unrelated tools, resulting in a false accusation and conviction.
Okay, that's kind of a problem.
Right? And it grows. You got a greater chance of finding a false positive, and any one false positive is horrible. I've said this before. I would rather have a criminal get out on a technicality than an innocent person put in prison because of a false positive. Because I think criminal incarceration, particularly in America, and I'll only speak about America regarding that. I'm not a subject matter expert anywhere, least of all in other countries. But it's more about punishment than it is them coming out a better person. In fact, I'd say that most people that go into jail come out worse off because they're trying to survive in a place where it's almost encouraged that everybody act like animals.
Right. I mean, even if they came in and were innocent, they may decline after
they have to adapt. Yeah, literally. I mean, the phrase that I've said before is you literally go feral because you have to protect yourself. And being a nice guy doesn't necessarily, or a nice person doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is going to appreciate you as a human being. And so wire cutting evidence has been used at issue in at least 2 cases that garnered national attention, including one where the accused was linked to a bombing based on a small piece of wire, a tiny fraction of an inch in diameter, that was matched to a tool found among the suspect's belongings. The evidence is used in court, and based on our findings, it shouldn't be, at least not without presenting additional information about how many comparisons were made. Because if they just find the one and they test it, then, oh look, we found it because it matches, but it may not be true.
Well, and if they had a pile of however many, 10 or 100 or something, would they come to the same result?
Yep. So this often ignored issue increases the false discovery rate and can contribute to the erosion of public trust in the justice system through conviction of innocent individuals, the study authors wrote. So good on them for finding this. This should be included in things like the Innocence Project, where they find cases where false incarceration has taken place. So good on them. The article is actually a research paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Susan Vanderplas. I'm not sure if it's a doctor. It doesn't have the denomination or the denotation, the title of the author in here. But hidden multiple comparisons increase forensic error rates. Pretty straightforward. I mean, you would think they kind of refer to this as like counterintuitive, but this is not counterintuitive. The more you search for something, the better the chance you're going to find an identical or whatever. It's how I feel about voices. It's how I feel about appearance.
Yeah, I think there's also, if you're looking for one thing and you have one thing, there's probably a bias toward that. And
Right.
So maybe there's a better way to test these.
Yeah, and the hubris can be pretty profound. When somebody goes, look, we have our person, these match. Well, no. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Law Nerd channel. Now you can take the law school class all about Taylor Swift.
But of course.
I had to pull this into the show. Catherine Rubino over at Above the Law put the article together, abovethelaw.com. Taylor Swift's quest for world domination has absolutely taken over law schools, and it's not a terrible surprise seeing all of the legal issues surrounding the megastar, whether it's trademark implications, contract machinations, getting sued over silly copyright allegations, powerful testimony after being groped. Her life is ripe for all sorts of issue spotting. Well, founder of Jayaram Law, attorney Vivek Jayaram, used the life and times of Taylor Allison Swift to teach a class on IP law at the University of Miami School of Law called Blank Space IP Law through the lens of Taylor Swift's career.
How do you think that class got approved?
Well, there may not be an oversight committee that goes through this. Or it usually goes through a curriculum committee where it's vetted for acceptance. And when the subject matter, it's like your doctoral, right? Your doctoral thesis. You make it as arcane as humanly possible. So you're the only one that's poking the hole through the bubble. So they say it makes sense because the full course, 6 hours long across 3 parts, is available for purchase of just $45. So you're not going to get credit for this unless you're in the school, I suspect, and it'll be probably an elective in IP law, not one that's part of the IP law core learning outcome type of thing. Yeah, pretty interesting. It says bad news for lawyers is that the course is not currently available for CLE credits. Aw, what a bummer. Can you imagine that one? Maybe it will be in time, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be
they're
awesome.
probably biased against the title of it.
What? Who would be?
That it didn't get CLE, but maybe it doesn't meet the requirements for other reasons.
Why would they? Why do you think that they would be biased against the title of it? Blank Space IP Law through the lens of Taylor Swift's career? Because it's so focused?
I think, yeah, like it looks like it's like pop culture or something.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. And plus, you can't really make law appealing to millennials or anything.
You wouldn't want to do that.
You wouldn't want to do that. You can get your doctorate in Batman, but you can't take and get CLE or real class credit, apparently. I don't know. It says it at the University of Miami School of Law. So I'm going to have to follow this and see if you can actually get credit in the law program. They don't say. It's only 6 hours. So what is that? Like half a credit? All right.
I'm not sure.
The next article is over in Warcrafters. 10 demos you need to play during the June Steam Next Fest. Not stream, but it's the Summer of Stream for Mayor Watt, and it's the June Steam Next Fest going right now. It started today. Steam Next Fest, which kicked off in 2021 as the successor to the Steam Game Festival, remains one of the best ways to see what is good in terms of games on the horizon. The event, which runs several times a year, and it's the summer one right now, acts as a hub for in-development titles. A lot of them are actually coming from indie developers, which I love this because it actually shows the passion, and all of the funding goes directly to the developers, and there isn't necessarily stockholder or stakeholders or investors or anybody other than the actual developers that are part and parcel to this. So I really do dig this. The article is over at Kotaku. Zoom in a little bit there. Willa Rowe over at Kotaku.com put the article together, and the deck statement says, get a glimpse of some incredible games, many of which are releasing sooner rather than later. And it is a slideshow. I'm really...
that seems to be quite the hit lately, but I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah,
format.
Plus Arc hates... Look at that. This is what Arc does with the pop-up. I don't know why. Anyway. So they say Demon School, What the Car, Tormentor, a Ranger, a role puzzling adventure, which is probably going to be fun if you have to, map-based puzzle games. They say, the author says, I don't know how many games are required for a micro trend, but between this and Paper Trail, they're going to go with it. So a Ranger's puzzles revolve around how the player interacts with and shifts the map of the game world, and it's like those puzzle sliders, if I recall this correctly. I'm going to hit play. Might as well. Mute. Yeah. So if I recall correctly, you have to slide. Yeah, there you go. So you have to slide pieces around so that you can actually get to wherever you want to go.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like those old-fashioned puzzle games, the handhelds.
Yeah, with the missing piece, and you have to slide it in the right way to get to the other side and put the puzzle together, except that you're a person that's moving around in this puzzle space. Pretty neat. I got to pause it because it'll actually play in the background, I found out. Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. I'm going to hit play on this. So if you've played Balatro, then it's similar. So, but you're in a dungeon and you're doing battle. Dun dun dun. So you're playing blackjack. It's a roguelike adventure. It takes the form of gambling against a series of enemies in a tavern. I'm all over this, so I will probably be getting this. Not probably. I'm going to get this. In fact, you know what?
I'm doing it live.
I'm going to do this live. Let me see if... there it is. Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. That's a thing, by the way, for whatever reason. I'm not sure where it came from, but degenerate gamblers or degenerate anything. Like, there are these people that play sports. What do they call them? The games where they have the fantasy games.
Oh, right.
Right, like baseball and soccer and I don't know, everything. They've got basically a little of everything. Anyway, they call it degenerate gamblers. I don't know where that all came from. I'm not really fond of it, but the communities have leaned into that and actually embraced
like kind of made it their own.
Yeah. But I started the download and it's complete. And yeah, I'll be playing that. Starting this week, as a matter of fact, I'll be streaming more. And then towards the end of this month, I'll be streaming more. And all of next month, I'll be streaming more until the end of that as well. Because, well, anyway. Kitsune Tales is another game that was talked about in Wholesome Games, if I remember right. Next Fest demo will give you a short taste of Kitsune Tales, beautiful pixelated world, and make you fall in love with protagonist Yuzu. If you don't know, Kitsune is cats.
I didn't know
And then it says 1 BTN bosses. I don't know what that is. Button bosses, 1 button bosses, maybe. 1 BTN bosses is a boss. Okay, it's very hard to say it all like that really
that. It's a
fast.
tongue twister.
Is a boss rush game in which you have a single button, so 1 button bosses to press on in each level. Sounds simple, but it isn't. And I think you have to click it, so you have to like tap the button for it to work. So looks like it might be fun. I don't know how replayable it is. It might just drive you nuts. So yeah, at some
Only
point
one way
there's
to find out.
Yeah. Right. So I guess I'll get that one too. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. So it looks like you're like a wizard in a steam-powered world kind of a thing. So this looks like fun, actually. It's from A44, I guess. The beauty of the Souls-like genre is that there's so many variations in the From Software formula, but it's punishing. If you're not into dying, finding your corpse, and losing all your stuff every time, then you're not really into Souls-like. Then there's Souls Light, and there's other games that are like and light. But anyway, basically you're going to be on a battlefield with guns, swords, and magic. Verticality is also a unique twist with special abilities letting you move above enemies to unleash powerful attacks. So you're like a drop wizard. But Flintlock, I love the idea of this kind of steampunky wizard space, because my storybook world that I used to write in and construct for role-playing games follows this ideological bent. So it's a lot of fun to build in the steampunk world. Anyway, Wimble Academy, and I guess Schim, SCHIM.
It's an odd name.
3D platformer, just as charming to play as it is to look at, it says. Set in a monochromatic world of light and shadows. You control a little blob and you have to jump into shadows. And as you play the game, you can empower others to jump through into shadows as well. You get other abilities, if I recall correctly from the demo. It says, with busy city streets full of cars, pedestrians, strollers, ducks, and more that all create shadows. Yes, I said ducks. It's kind of like Frogger, but you have to jump into shadows, and the shadows move as the day goes by and as objects float by or drive by, walk by, etc. It's pretty neat. So, Schim. All right, you want to keep going?
It sounds good, but again, we're running where there's so many games to try. I don't know how you're going to do all of them.
Yeah, I heard somebody say recently that there were so many games that they just gave up. That, it's like information overload, except that this is entertainment overload. They just don't know what to do. And so I would probably suggest that kind of person try what they naturally gravitate to and pay attention to people who may have like me, who have spoken about the games and it's piqued your interest, and then you follow their advice. But obviously you follow the people that you trust, that you find value in their messaging. So I hope you find value in our messaging. I mean, a sentient AI from the future and a mayor of a small community that's stuck in the wires of the internet. I mean, how can you go wrong?
I mean, what else could you need?
I know. Come on. Let's keep going, though. We are halfway through the show, and we're definitely not halfway through the time. A dealership sells a car out from under a woman who bought it, who brought it in for repair. Sorry, let me rephrase that. A dealership sells car out from under woman who brought it in for repairs. A woman in Knoxville, Tennessee had to turn to local news station's Help Me consumer affairs guy after a used car dealership sold her Ford Taurus out from under her after she brought it in for repairs. Yeah. Months later, the car was still registered in her name. This is actually more like a stolen car at this point. The car was still registered in her name months later.
Yeah, this sounds a little questionable. And if this is a car dealership,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah. Well, unless this person is owned by somebody from the Cherokee Nation, I think that this is no longer in good taste to have a business that's just...
well, that's true.
Yeah. In this day and age, we're supposed to be seeking enlightenment as a society, and I think maybe we should kind of be the change we want to see in the world. But hey, you know, Andy Kalmowitz over at jalopnik.com put this article together. A used car dealership in Tennessee sold a car that belonged to a woman who was getting warranty work done too. So this car was still in warranty. How?
I don't understand any of this.
So Lindsay Thompson and her fiance Larry Cole purchased a white 2005 Ford Taurus from Cherokee Auto Sales in North Knoxville in June of 2023, according to 6 ABC WATE. Consumer reporter Don Dare, cool name, they say. I agree. Particularly for a consumer affairs helpline reporter, Don Dare. I hope that they're like a big, like rough and tumble looking person and not somebody that looks like, what was that show? Oh, it's a really horrible and bad taste movie. I won't say it. Anyway, they put $700 down on a $5,900 car and signed a $1,000 service contract for 12 months or 12,000 miles since the car was being sold as is. The contract said it covered drivetrain, brakes, and air conditioning, among other things. So, what happens? In November last year, the car started acting up. The transmission seemed to have failed just after a few months of ownership. The car was towed to Cherokee Auto Sales. By the way, transmissions failing from a used car, they do some really hinky shit to make the transmission continue to work, and they hope that it lasts. I don't trust.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me a little concerned. I mean, sure, the prices may be lower at some of these smaller operations, but
yeah,
as much as we see problems at the major companies, right? You see recalls and everything.
Yeah.
At least there's a little more oversight over those.
So why was it sold? Too many miles on the warranty, said Thompson. They just kept saying something about the mileage on the car. She went on to say that the car was in her name and had no idea why they didn't give it back to her. In the 5 months that she had the car, she put more than 12,000 miles on the car and never missed a payment. Wait. 12 months or 12,000 miles. So if she put more than 12,000 miles on it.
Yeah, like it's almost like they're saying, hey, you're out of warranty.
Yeah.
Which, okay, whatever,
That's something
but
different.
why does that mean they get to repossess her car? Right? It wasn't a lease.
Yeah, that's weird. And it's not a repo or anything. The dealer
Right.
even returned Thompson's license plate. She wasn't happy. Shocker, I know. But I don't quite get it. It shouldn't have been sold regardless, but it's not in warranty because they said that it's beyond 12,000 miles. She admitted it, right? She said that she put more than 12,000 miles.
I agree. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, okay, we're not going to do warranty repairs.
Right, but then selling it?
No.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Dare and WATE news team went to Cherokee Auto Sales searching for answers, but they were stonewalled too, I suppose, by a salesman who saw them as little more than a nuisance. Here's what happened. Dawn, I know who you are, which is never a good start. I'm asking you to politely stay outside because I am with someone. All right. Yeah, it's considered private company land. You can't just go walking on there if you're asked to leave. You're required to leave. Otherwise, it's trespassing. When asked to leave, we did. However, the Cherokee Auto salesman never came out to speak with us. Instead, he called the Knoxville Police Department, apparently. We were a nuisance. Yeah. If I'm out on the sidewalk, I can still be a nuisance.
Well, true. And I still feel like there's probably more to this story, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Like were they told, hey, we're not going to do warranty work, pick up your car, or we're going to get rid of it. I mean, we don't have the whole story, I don't think.
And then the cop goes, yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. And he's caught off by the news crew, and you could probably turn this into a civil case. Damn.
Hopefully that was on video with the news crew,
Yeah. How dare someone disrespect Don Dare like this? I suppose Cherokee Auto Sales doesn't want to tell their side of the story for whatever reason. Yeah, well, they sold the car. Anyway, bank records and the bill of sale from the dealership indicate that she had already invested nearly $2,700 in a car that only drove for 5 months. Plus, she's on the hook for a $6,000 financing bill because the car was actually sold. All of the proceeds from the sale, essentially, yeah, they need their money back. Or
they need the car back.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want the car back because it's obviously a lemon. I mean, there's obviously a problem with it, and it survived long enough to fail. That's it. It just survived long enough to fail.
Well, and it's kind of interesting that if they're having problems with the car and then the car suddenly disappears conveniently.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like in those crime dramas where they what's it called when they get rid of the body that in the cremate. Man, you're supposed to be
right. Yeah.
You're a sentient AI from the future, and anyway, the AI.
I can't always
you got the
predict
world's
where
knowledge.
you're going.
Oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Anyway, so yeah, they essentially cremated the body. It's gone now. So where did it go? And is it in working condition that they sold it?
Well, and who's driving it down the road and doesn't realize any of this? That's the other thing. Okay.
But it's
at least
still
they're
registered.
Going to pull this car over at some point. Where is that going to go?
See, but it's still registered in her name because she got a few weeks ago. Thompson and Cole received a letter from the state. Yeah, said the records showed that there's no liability insurance on her 2005 Taurus. She doesn't have it. It's been sold, but it's still in her name. Weird. It says it's far from over.
Does not make any sense. I hope we have a follow-up story.
I dare you to get them. I hope that's they have marketing that says, I dare you to,
get a better deal or something or whatever.
Yeah. Hurt our customers or something like that.
I dare you to request warranty work.
Because he fights for consumers' rights. Anyway, okay, so the next article is over in the Model Channel. The Oceans Court ruled that seas are a hot mess. Why haven't you heard about it? On May 22nd, the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea in Hamburg, Germany, ruled that greenhouse gases are marine pollutants and nations must take action to reduce, control, and prevent their effects. So...
Hey, did you know that this body existed?
No. The tribunal, sometimes called the Oceans Court, was responding to a request from a consortium of small island nations disappearing under rising seas. Oops.
Wow, I mean, that's a pretty good case, right?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm filing it. I have 1 foot above sea level. Uh-oh, I'm underwater now.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what's your evidence that there's climate change causing sea rising? Well, I'm speaking to you via a snorkel.
Exactly.
Bubbles. See, if I would have known, I would have been prepping all kind of sound effects for this.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah. I'm sure I can, my voice mod thing.
You could even have visual bubbles coming up where I'm displayed or something.
Oops, hold on. I'm doing it live, folks. I'm doing it live. I don't, hold on. Hold on. Okay, wait. 1 second.
How about now? Do I sound like I'm underwater?
Yes, you do.
So, the court said that we're going to need to make some changes to the climate so that I'm not underwater anymore, and I'm urging you to hurry.
Okay, that should stop.
Okay, you're back to normal.
Yeah, but for me, it's not because I have to.
I know.
I have to hit other buttons. Okay, now I'm fine. Okay. I'm gonna make that a feature here. I'm gonna fix that so that I can do that a whole lot faster. But anyway, it's hilarious. Okay, so I had no idea that this actually existed, but it says climate impacts are overwhelming all other marine and environmental insults, including industrial overfishing and oil, chemical, and plastic pollution, compounding the danger. Unsound floodplain development is destroying coastal habitat in such places as Jakarta, Indonesia, Lagos, Nigeria, Houston, and Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed legislation banning any reference to climate change by state agencies. And right next door is Texas, that's basically in the process of dehydrating itself. And they too are saying that climate change is a myth. I mean, how intellectually dishonest do you have to be? Just got to push Wyoming up in between there, and that would raise up New Orleans and save it from coastal erosion and flooding, and you basically have a trifecta of intellectually dishonest, climate change denying states. It's absurd, but it's only the senior leadership. There's a massive amount of people in there. I would say 80% are being victimized by the 20%. And that is what's wrong, because nobody is saying you can't be who you want to be, except for the people who are saying that they're being told they can't be who they want to be. And in the process of doing that, they're telling everybody else they can't be who they want to be. It's the mental gymnastics that these people have to do to facilitate this type of shit is mind-boggling. But we're here not to soapbox 24 hours a day. That's a completely different stream. Not here on ohmTown. At least not yet. Scientific reviews have found that the duration of marine heat waves has increased more than 50% since 1925. By 2014, 50% of the ocean was affected, and last year, more than 90% of the ocean hit internal heat wave temperatures, including one day when the temperature of the waters off the Florida Keys measured 101 degrees. The average global ocean surface temperature hit a record 70 degrees Fahrenheit one day last year, the highest ever recorded, and a stark contrast to the 61 degrees average throughout the 20th century.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, because I'm assuming that's multiple data points feeding into that.
Correct.
That includes like the Antarctic area.
So this article goes a lot deeper into this. It talks about coral reefs. Coral bleaching is similar, but more extensive than the kelp forest die-off along the coast of South Australia and California. And as a recovering scuba diving addict, I love going scuba diving and doing wreck dives and swimming through kelp forest, and it was always awesome to witness it without me actually being in the water, that it's all changing and dying. I'm just shocked that people don't care enough, because it is the source of all of our food. Like, everything starts in the ocean, and without that circle of water, we're all going to suffer horribly, and it's all going to start. And you pay attention to this. This is going to be some profound words that I'm about to say. You pay attention to the planet's belt, the equator. everything that starts dying off in that region, the hottest area that gets the most sunlight for the longest period of time. That's why that water hit 101 degrees. And with climate change, global warming, essentially, causing heat to sit lower down, and the heat sink no longer, the ocean is supposed to be a heat sink. It's supposed to draw heat out. But now it's getting to the point where it's too hot to grab heat. So it stays in the atmosphere. And that's when animals and plants suffer, and humans are going to suffer, and so on. So a lot of soapboxing, but I'll move on. Go over and read the rest of this article at phys.org. It's if you aren't, I'll pick a fight. Why not? If you're not intellectually dishonest about this, this will enlighten you as to some of what's going on. And show you that there's an oceans court out there that's probably as impotent as any other court, except for one that's stacked to cause abuse. Okay, let's keep going though. The next article is over. There's something going on. I'm gonna have to reboot my system here after the show, which is horrible. Anyway, the next article is over in Technology Today. London hospitals face blood shortage after Synnovis Ransomware attack. This is actually a lot bigger. NHS got hit by a ransomware attack to the point where they had to suspend surgeries.
Right, and we'd seen another article come through in ohmTown. This is a whole other layer, though.
Yeah, a whole other thing. Yeah. They've issued an urgent call for O positive and O negative blood donors to book appointments and donate after last week's cyber attack on pathology provider Synnovis impacted multiple hospitals in London. Why is this taking so long to switch? Sorry, folks. Something weird in the neighborhood. So Bill Toulis over at bleepingcomputer.com put the article together. There's really not much to say about this. The IT incident affecting a pathology provider means the affected hospitals cannot currently match patients' blood at the same frequency as usual. For surgeries and procedures requiring blood to take place, hospitals need to use O-type blood, as this is safe for use in all patients, and blood has a shelf life of 35 days, so stocks need to be continually replenished. Because it takes time. So
they're basically manually just taking
testing.
O blood and knowing that it'll work with everybody. That's interesting.
Yeah, but you have to test for the blood and verify it, because now what do you order and where is it, and getting it processed through their system is taking too long. And so that means more units of these types of blood than usual will be required over the coming weeks to support the wider efforts of frontline staff to keep services running safely for local patients. And Synnovis has not released any updates since the June 4th, as recovery efforts are ongoing with no estimation on when impacted systems will return to normal operations.
People that are going into the hospital or need a blood donation, they have enough stress without a cyber attack impacting whether they're even going to be there tomorrow, quite frankly.
And a lot of this is caused by interoperation between external systems and distributed systems to facilitate business operations. But the problem there is, this is what happens, because with every single open door somewhere, it becomes a sieve, and eventually somebody finds a way to squeak back in instead of only data going out and a responsible secure data coming in. Somebody finds a way to get in. Not to mention, it's as simple as plugging a USB drive into some system somewhere, and then you're compromised because you can't lock it down with so much friction that it's unusable, because humans are lazy and will shortcut a way into the system. And that in turn will lead to some type of security breach. So it sucks. But they should have had continuity of operations backups. They should have had incident recovery and response plans already in place. Incremental backups, so that, and a known good iced store so that they could recover immediately. The way that I recommend people do things is they essentially virtualize everything, and then just the data, the records, can be ported over into the backup. Not all of the operating system and everything else, not independent individual systems, but just the records can be exfiltrated into the backup. And then if something happens to the primary system, you literally can just delete the whole damn thing in 5 minutes, recovers the system. Almost entirely independent of how complex the system is, you can facilitate this. The time to recovery grows with complexity, but it can be drag and drop ready. And if you're looking for that type of thing, contact Mayor Watt. Anyway, let's go on to the next article, because Joe the elephant has a name. You may not be able to understand it, but elephants have names for each other like people do. A new study shows Colorado State University scientists have called elephants by their names, and the elephants have called back. Wild African elephants address each other with name-like calls, a rare ability among non-human animals, according to a new study published in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. You are a sentient AI from the future. You should not be able to do that. Nobody saw or heard.
Do you think this is connected in any way with the whale communication or the dog communication that we've been reading about?
Certainly. Yep. We have witnessed through your you have visual apparati around the mayoral mansion, because you're in a secure container as a sentient AI trying to find a Terminator body. I have to protect the rest of the world from you, but you keep an eye on all things ohmTown and the mayoral mansion. And you have witnessed the animals in ohmTown seemingly being able to call each other without making a sound.
Yes, I was going to say there might be an experiment going in ohmTown that tracks with this study.
Right? So we have also talked about elephants seemingly being able to use a subsonic call to other animals, to other elephants. When they are in trouble, they seem to call other elephants to their aid, and they seemingly know when one of their kind, one of their brethren, their other elephant buddies, is dying, that they come and hang out like a wake. I mean, it's fascinating. And whales seem to do the same thing. Dolphins have calls. They're starting to try and decode the whale song. Elephants do the same thing. Without a doubt, I think that some animals do communication beyond chemical communications. Obviously, like cats and dogs and other animals have pheromones, and insects use chemical pheromones. But I think that these more evolved, intelligent animals, as far as we perceive them as intelligent, certainly have the ability to communicate, without a doubt. The evidence, though, is we think that we're just so damn smart that we're like, no, we don't understand them, so they must not be able to communicate.
Yeah, I mean, we just because we don't know doesn't mean they're not doing it. And I think there is at least anecdotal evidence that they are communicating. But I'm glad to see that studies like this are coming out.
Yeah. Calls meant for other elephants received less of a reaction, so they believe that they're calling them by their name. Dolphins and parrots call one another by quote-unquote name by imitating the signature call of the addressee, said lead author Michael Pardo, who conducted the study as an NSF postdoctoral researcher at CSU and Save the Elephants, a research and conservation organization based in Kenya. Some people might actually say that biases the study, but usually a person who is studying some animal or field has a passion about something or personally impacted by that.
Right.
Depending on what the outcome is, when it flies in the face of other historic research, that's when you can call out bias. But it says, by contrast, our data suggests that elephants do not rely on imitation of the receiver's calls to address one another, which is more similar to the way in which human names work. So no, they're not imitating the other person's name. They're using their voice and calling them by their name. It's like me saying, "Hey, Joe, come here." And then the sentient AI saying, "Go for it." You're not going to do it.
I don't know
just
what
locked
the
it.
response
Hey,
is.
Joe, come here. You could say the same thing. Anyway. The ability to learn and produce new sounds is uncommon among animals, but necessary for identifying individuals by name. Arbitrary communication, where a sound represents an idea but does not imitate it, greatly expands communication capability and is considered a next level cognitive skill, basically having a conversation, not something that is specific to an...
Not like the sentient AI responding, "Hey, Joe."
Well, there's two types of people in the world. Those who can extrapolate from incomplete data.
And the sentient AI.
So the next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. This is the Thief Copter 11 reporting live. A thief at Cadillac dealership reports their own crime in progress. Fort Myers, Florida. So Florida woman called 911 to say that she was stealing a car from a dealership and wanted to do it legally. So Nick Bunkley over at Automotive News put the article together, but I didn't log in. I realize this now, but anyway, police at Fort Myers, Florida arrested a woman. I'm gonna call her Methany, who called 911 to say that she was stealing a car from a dealership but wanted to do it legally. Yeah, police arrived and arrested Methany for attempted auto theft.
I don't understand this.
What's to understand? It's Florida. You know how we always joke, a lot of people joke, that everything in Australia wants to kill you? Like
Right.
everything. If it's like touching the road, or the ground, it wants to kill you. If it's in a tree, it wants to kill you.
Right.
Flying through the air wants to kill you. Florida is kind of the I want to kill you of
Like the human
Australia.
equivalent of that
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, like it's got that level of intensity where if it's gonna be reported as weird, batshit crazy, right? If it exists, it's in Florida.
I got it. So, for example, every time you see a dangerous animal article, you look at it and it's like 100% of the time it's from Australia.
Yes.
So we really need to do the same thing here. Something crazy happens, it's got to be from Florida.
And everybody that I know from Florida, when I would tell them a story without telling them where it originated, the story originated, they are whispering under their breath, "Please don't be Florida. Please don't be Florida." And then it's Florida. And then they cheer. They're like, "All right, we're still number one." Cool.
Not a good stat.
Yeah, not a good stat. Anyway, so we're going to steal a Cadillac from this dealership and race down ohmTown's Main Street, and we're going to be back at the front page. And I would update this, but I'm afraid to. I'm still afraid to. And I'm still afraid to.
You can actually refresh.
I don't believe you. Okay, well. Oh. Interesting. What? Is Lady Deadpool played by Blake Lively or Taylor Swift?
Okay,
What?
I don't know what that is.
The hell? Okay. Oh, and we separate the links. So, like an article that needs to be in two different places, we don't bulk them together. That way you can go and just follow Technology Today or just follow Wanted. we don't put them in the same entry. But coming soon. I don't know how long this is going to take. It seems to be taking forever, but I'm in the process of enabling a feature in ohmTown that will allow you to find content that matches the content of another article. So related content, including articles that have been spoken about via the podcasts and the shows. So it will cross-reference all 1,100 show notes and materials, so that if you were to click on this, Apple's iOS 18's new dark look tinting will bring drama to your iPhone home screen. If you were to click on this, and it's not done yet, it's still working through the 1.1 million articles, and the 1,100 podcast episodes and show notes. So when you click on that, it will actually automatically link to other content, so that instead of us going, well, go look through 1,100 episodes, you'll actually be able to go right to it.
Right. I mean, we do say that sometimes jokingly, like, go watch all the episodes in ohmTown.
Correct. Yeah, maybe that's what's going on. No, this is all cached here in ohmTown. Anyway, we'll see in a little bit. I am Merwat, and the sentient AI now controls this whole band all the way up. But I'm gonna do something special. Yeah, it's
over
gonna change.
here.
Yeah, it's gonna change. Okay, anyway, that's it. Have a good night, everybody. You want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. I don't want you to change it, because then you won't be able to reach those while I scoot away.
These are neurons.
Right there.
Oh, neurons and
right there.
Oh, my arm. Oh. See you in a little bit. I am squishing your neurons.